Hello and welcome to today's Q&A. My name is Henrietta Brealey. I'm the Chief Executive of the Greater Birmingham Chambers of Commerce, and I'm joined here today by Jodh Dhesi, Chief Executive of the King Edward VI Foundation. Hello, Jodh.
Henrietta.
Now, you've only relatively recently joined the foundation, so I wondered if you'd like to share a little background on yourself for our listeners, your career before the foundation.
Thanks, Henrietta. Well, I have been proudly in the foundation since January. Prior to that, I was 2 years in the United Arab Emirates, where I oversaw 40 schools offering a range of different curricula: English, American, Indian, and International Baccalaureate. And before that, I spent many years in Cambridge. I was head teacher of a secondary school. I was member of the executive board of a multi-academy trust. I was the national leader of education. My entire career has been in education, starting off as a languages teacher and working my way up through the ranks. And I'm delighted to now be in this executive role at King Edward VI Foundation.
Fantastic. I have to say there's a really lovely Griff Report article on you in our April Chamberlink magazine. So if anyone watching would like to find out a little bit more about Jodh and his background, there is a really nice piece in there talking about your journey into education. Fantastic. Now, many of those watching will have heard of the schools of King Edward VI. Some may even have attended one of the schools. But for those who are less familiar with who you are and what you do, would you like to give us a bit of background on the group and the foundation itself?
Thank you. Well, the history of the foundation really goes back to the history of Birmingham. So King Edward VI founded the original school, King Edward School, in 1552. And the foundation has been very much at the centre of education in the city since then. For the first few hundred years, it was centred around King Edward School. And then in the late 19th century, the foundation did two things which really were significant in the development of educational history. Firstly, they set up a girls' school, King Edward's High School. And secondly, they set up 5 grammar schools to open up education to a wider group. And those 5 grammar schools are still with us today. During the course of the 20th century, that was the setup of the foundation. And then early in the 21st century, quite a few things happened. Firstly, the foundation sponsored its first non-selective academy, Sheldon Heath. Secondly, it became an academy trust, set up an academy trust. And thirdly, we've really started to extend our remit into comprehensive education as much as the grammar schools and the independent schools. So as of September, there'll be 12 schools in the foundation, a mixture of independent, grammar and comprehensive, which is a really quite distinct mixture. You don't get many organisations in the country where you've got that range of schools.
Fantastic. It's such an incredible institution within the city. And I have to say, working for the Chamber, we were founded in 1813. So it's rare that we meet people working for organisations that have been around longer. But the schools of King Edward VI, certainly one of those, really imprinted on sort of the fabric of the city and how it's all developed over the centuries. Now, you've got a fantastic sort of mission and purpose as a foundation. Would you like to tell us a bit, now that you're in this role, about the sort of changes you might want to make to its strategy or how you see that developing in future?
One of the first things that I was asked to do coming into the role was to look at that mission, which is a very ambitious and bold mission to make Birmingham the best place to be educated in the UK. And to think about, well, what does that actually mean in practice? If we can do that, what does it mean for the learners, for people who work at the foundation, and for everyone else in the city too? So the past few months, I've been undertaking a strategic review, which has now resulted in our foundation strategy for the coming years. And it's based on a number of things. And you won't be surprised that clearly the biggest priority is about education. It's making sure that the education that we offer in all of our schools, no matter which kind of schools, is the very best that it can be, and putting in the resource for that. So we'll have a director of education. We're putting in more and more resource to help the schools really work together and learn from each other. Another really important thing that we want to do is to make sure that all pupils and all types of families are represented within our schools. So we already invest over £2.5 million in assisted places every year. I think that's probably the biggest assisted places programme nationally. We're going to continue to do that and grow it. We already have changed our admissions policy to get more children from disadvantaged backgrounds into our grammar schools, and we'll continue to encourage that. And a third part is that we want to grow the foundation more. I mentioned that in September we're going to have 12 schools. We want to take that up to another 5 or 6 schools, comprehensive schools, non-selective schools, so that we really widen our reach to as many families and children in the city as possible. And the third strand really is about extending our partnership work, making sure that we play a big role in the city, because that mission, making Birmingham a better place to be educated, isn't just about what we do in our schools. It's about what we do with other educational groups, but also other types of organisation as well.
Fantastic. And within those partnerships, does the business community feature heavily? I imagine so, given the conversation today. But we often hear from businesses that education is sort of that foundation for society, isn't it? You go through education, you enter the workplace. So getting that balance right, getting those sort of pipelines right between education and business is so critical. How are you looking at that business partnerships piece? Are you looking to engage the business community in this work?
We absolutely are, and I've had some wonderful experiences earlier in my career working very closely with businesses where they've come into our schools, they've worked with our pupils, they've worked with our staff as well, and even with our parent bodies. So I'm a firm believer in the relationship and the partnerships that we can have between education and business, because it's absolutely of mutual benefit. Of course, we always benefit from anyone coming in and offering their expertise and their thoughts and even their resources. But at the same time, as you said, we are creating the next generation of workers in our schools. And so we want to know what's useful. Now, we have a view as educationalists, and clearly for me, literacy and numeracy are absolutely key. Businesses want their colleagues to be able to write well, to communicate well, and to be financially and numerate as well. But there's more than that. There are certain skills that particular businesses would want. And so we're really keen to understand what those are and to work with businesses.
Fantastic. So if there are any businesses watching this who are thinking, how do I get involved? What's the best way for them to reach out?
Contact me to get in touch via the foundation office, via the website, via Chamber of Commerce. So get in touch. I will happily meet anybody at any time to talk about what their thoughts are. It's really important that we do work with the City of Birmingham in this.
Fantastic, absolutely, particularly at the moment. I mean, we've all seen the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on youth unemployment in particular, and the sort of concerns about the prospects for young people entering the workforce after having come from this sort of disruptive time. Is there anything that the schools are particularly doing around supporting that next generation into the workplace?
It's a really big focus for our schools, and what's good is that over the past few years, government policy and educationally has put a big focus on careers guidance and work-related learning. There are things like the Gatsby measurements that schools have to do now to check whether they are providing really, really good careers advice. So part of it is about making sure that the pupils know what can they do, what could they do. Then it's making sure that they've got the tools and the qualifications in order to be able to do that, because attainment matters. The grades that pupils get matter. And so, as I said to you before, the absolutely central plank of what we're doing in our strategy is to make sure that our pupils do achieve as well as they can. And then, as we've just been saying, it's about getting the pupils to understand what there is out there. So the more that we can get businesses coming in and talking to them, the more those pupils will understand what those opportunities are.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jodh. And thank you so much for this introduction to such an incredible institution that's had such an impact on this city's history, but also, from the sounds of it, going to be playing a key role in its development moving forward and delivering that world-class education for so many of the city's young people and leaders of the future. Thank you very much indeed. Do you have any final comments for our viewers?
I would just repeat what I said before. If you think that you would like a conversation to further the education of children in this city, get in touch.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jodh. There you have it, everyone. Get in touch. Please do reach out. You can reach out to the Chamber or directly to the Schools of King Edward VI, and we'll be happy to connect you up.